2 out of 3 in Kansas City and a 5-1 road trip makes it for a nice flight home. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Rodriguez, and welcome to the Monday edition of Dodgers' latest. Big road trip turns out to have some positive results. Dodgers end up winning 5 out of 6, sweep in Denver, winning 2 out of 3 in Kansas City, taking today off, and then a big homestand coming up against the White Sox and the Astros. And you, of course, can hit me up right here on Instagram and on X at JRodShow. Man, the subscriber count keeps going up, and we thank you for it. We're glad that you're enjoying the content. Keep hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, tell a friend, as we give you the very best and latest of information right here on Dodgers Latest on our YouTube channel. Well, let's talk about the one guy that has been figuring it out, and that's Justin Robleski, right? 6 shutout innings yesterday in Kansas City with 6 strikeouts. Look what he's done his last 3 appearances. 16 innings, 3 earned runs, 16 strikeouts. He's really come into his own. Remember Robleski when he made his debut with the Dodgers in Washington? They gave him a start as everybody started to get hurt, and Robleski got lit up, gave up 8 earned runs. Well, his ERA is actually down to 4 as he still hasn't recovered from that 8 earned run outing. But I tell you what, he's been brilliant his last 3 times out, and he has really been sort of like, I guess, he hasn't been starting. He usually comes in after the bullpen guy or the opener pitches an inning or 2. But Robleski has just been amazing. He has taken the situation of being, having failed in the big leagues with that 8 earned runs against the Nationals, got sent down and really honed his skill. The fastball has jumped up to the high 90s, and he's now challenging hitters, but also learning when not to challenge hitters, learning how to pitch. And I guess that trip down to Oklahoma City has really helped him out, and Robleski has been a key in that Dodger bullpen / bulk inning guy, as he has really turned into a guy who's eating a lot of innings. And now these bullpen games are vis-a-vis quasi-Robleski starts, because Trevino will pitch an inning or Dreyer will pitch an inning to start, and then they'll bring Robleski. And this was a career high for him yesterday. 6 innings, 6 shutout innings against Kansas City. And the left-hander has really found his home. And it looks like, he is now going to be kind of the quasi-fifth guy, bullpen guy that they can really count on to, with all the injuries of Snell and Glasnow and all the guys we've talked about, to have Robleski really come into his own. All of a sudden now, does that temper the conversations of getting out another starter? Do you get an Andrew Heaney? Do you go out and get a Paul Skeens? Do you go out and get a Chris Sale, a Sandy Alcantara? Does that all temper that conversation if Robleski's pitching well? Do you have confidence in Justin Robleski, August, September, and into October? Love to hear your thoughts, but so far he has given the Dodgers nothing but positive his last 3 times out. And again, being a left-hander, that obviously is a rare commodity in the big leagues, and kind of messes up their lineup, especially if you had a left-handed heavy lineup. So you start looking down the road who they would face in the playoffs. Padres, Giants, Cubs, Mets, Phillies, all that combination, Yankees down the road, Astros down the road. If you've got a lineup that's full of lefties, boy, Justin Robleski could really stimulate that, offense and get the Dodgers into a position where, they can sort of overcome losing, Sasaki for the year. They can, Glasnow and Snell's slow recovery. They can really overcome that with Justin Robleski's efforts. So good for him. And he has really, talk about a guy who took his minor league demotion and turned it into a positive. That's lefty Justin Robleski. Now, we love to hear from you guys as well here on Dodgers Latest. We invite you to comment, and we always talk about how we read everything. Well, here's a great one. On Friday, we talked about that there was a rumor out there that the Dodgers may be going after Bo Bichette of the Blue Jays. He's the son of ex-big leaguer Dante Bichette. Bichette, has been in the big league since 2019. Had 3 straight 20 home run seasons, could play shortstop, and he's in the final year of a 3-year, $33.5 million contract. So the idea would be you move him in, you make the trade, you move him at short, and you take Mookie, who has had a bad year offensively, for him anyway. You take him out of shortstop because a lot of demands physically at shortstop, and you move him back out to the outfield. Well, we've got a comment from Ted6580. So thanks, Ted, for coming out for us. And he says, Bo Bichette makes 0 sense. He's got less than half the WAR Mookie does in an extremely down year for Mookie. Mookie has 1.3 defensive WAR, and Bo is a negative fielding shortstop. And they need to stop moving former MVP Mookie Betts to make way for inferior players. Makes 0 sense. Absolutely correct on the surface, Ted. And thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. We always appreciate it. But here's my thought. If Mookie Betts is struggling, now remember, he had that sort of that weight loss disease where he lost a lot of weight at the beginning of the season, had a viral thing, a stomach thing, and it seems like he just hasn't been able to get right. And is shortstop really too much of a tax for him? Well, maybe you move him out to right field. So then that brings up, well, what about Teoscar Hernandez? Well, what about Teoscar Hernandez, right? Teoscar has been awful the last 30 days. He's coming off an injury where he hurt himself as well in Miami, and he has not been right since that injury. Look at those numbers the last 30 games, right? Under 200, 4 home runs, under 250 OPS. So is it a situation where maybe you move Mookie to right? And then you move Teoscar to left. Right now, they're sort of parceling it in left field. It's a little bit of Kike Hernandez. It's a little bit of Michael Conforto. Andy Paez seems to be, bunkered in there at center field, although Andy can play left field. I just, listen, at this point, it's all about results. It's all about guys that can deliver for you. And Teoscar, maybe he's not right. Maybe he's in one of those crazy slumps that he hasn't been able to get right. And we love Teoscar, right? What a year he had last year, and the Dodgers signed him to a 3-year deal. So he's not going anywhere, per se. But maybe you give him a break. I'm not saying platooning, but maybe he becomes a full-time left fielder. Maybe you put Mookie back out and right. If you make this deal for Bo Bichette and you put him out at shortstop, relieves the fact that Michael Conforto isn't hitting. It doesn't solve the fact that you don't have a left-handed bat. We talked about Ryan McMahon being in the mix from the Rockies. At the end of the day, you don't want to make too many trades. I get it. We're just throwing options out there. But Mookie, the Dodgers aren't going to win unless Mookie plays and plays well. That's all I'm telling you. I know they have Freddie. I know they have Ohtani. They're not going to win unless Mookie Betts contributes. And they have been able to carry him through the course of the season. Listen, Freddie was feeling it a little bit in Kansas City. Everybody goes through slumps. Seems like the only guy that doesn't go through a slump is Shohei Ohtani. But without Mookie, they're not going to win. So they got to find a way to get him comfortable. And maybe the wear and tear at shortstop is causing a ripple effect at the bat. Only Mookie knows. Only the insiders, in the organization, the hitting coaches and stuff. I just feel like maybe if you give him a break and you give a guy like Bo Bichette, it's not going to cost you much. He's at the end of a contract, maybe a prospect or two, and he gives you some pop. And if all of a sudden Mookie can get back to what Mookie was, playing right field, easing up on the body, especially a guy who lost so much weight at the beginning of the season, then you're constantly trying to catch up, trying to gain that weight back during the season. Maybe it's a possibility. But Ted, I appreciate your thoughts. Makes all the sense in the world. But sometimes you got to go a little unconventional. Not saying the Dodgers are going to do it, but I know Bo Bichette is on the radar. And on the radar, well, is the next homestand. It's a 6-game stand for the Dodgers. The White Sox and the Astros come to town. And the Dodgers are in a stretch right now where they're playing some pretty bad teams, right? They played the Nationals, they played the Rockies, the Royals, and now the White Sox. The Astros will be back into playing an elite kind of team. The first place, as usual, Houston Astros. And look at the pitching matchups in this series for the Dodgers, right? You got Yamamoto on Tuesday, Kershaw on Wednesday, and Dustin May on Thursday. And, of course, Yamamoto, I'm very curious to see how he does because he beat the Rockies his last time out, 5 shutout innings. Best start he had made in the month of June. He was winless in June until that victory. How does he bounce back? He has been brilliant, literally pitching every seventh day. Dodgers went away from that because of injury and the schedule not having those days off. He will be pitching on his regular turn. It's not 7 days. It'll be pitching on the 6th day. So we'll see how he bounces back against the White Sox. That'll be a big test. And of course, Wednesday night, that is going to be a historic night, possibly at Dodger Stadium, as Clayton Kershaw is 3 strikeouts away from 3,000. So he could get that Wednesday night against the White Sox. It could be an awesome memorial night at Dodger Stadium. So please come on out, get your tickets. It's going to be one of those nights where I expect that ballpark to be sold out to the gills, even though the last place White Sox are in town. And then Dustin May, who's always a study, you know, in trying to get consistency. He's just been an innings eater for the Dodgers. He's been great. And then the Astros come to town. Ohtani will probably pitch over the weekend against the Astros, so we'll see what that works out. So a big week ahead for the Dodgers. One more week of baseball after that, and then, can you believe it? It's the All-Star break, the All-Star game in Atlanta. Hope you're voting for Ohtani and company as well. I'm Jim Rodriguez. Remember to hit me up on Instagram and on X at JRodShow. Thumbs up here on Dodgers Latest. We love to hear your comments. We read them, we respond to them, and we appreciate you making this part of your day. I'm Jim Rodriguez, and as always, it's time for Dodger Baseball.